Go Battle League has finally rotated into the Master League. This is our first opportunity to make use of the Steel Dragon legendary Pokemon known as Dialga. Now, if you're considering adding Dialga onto your team, in the last video we looked at some of the potential counters, ways to address the opponent's Dialga. In this video, we're going to be looking at what Pokemon best complement, what Pokemon have the best synergy with Dialga if you're going to use it on your squad, considering those potential Dialga counters out there on the other team's roster. Now, this video, we're going to be speaking specifically about the Dialga partners or supporters. But the principles discussed in this video are applicable to any Pokemon that you're going to be using on a PvP roster of 3. So when you're watching this video, start to ask yourself, regardless of whether or not you're considering using Dialga, how can I apply these principles to building my team and analyzing what Pokemon are going to work the best together during the course of your climb up the Go Battle ladder. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, trainers. My name is Oro Chris. I am your catching coach, and we're here. We finally rotated for the first time into a league of PvP that does not have a CP restriction, and as a result, this is the first time that a Pokemon as potentially meta-defining as Dialga is going to be in the Master League can make full use of its legendary stats. One of the problems or one of the hindrances for some Pokemon in leagues like Great League and Ultra League is that their stats are so overblown or so weighted in terms of attack that they can't adequately represent themselves in those CP restricted leagues. But here, Pokemon like Darkrai, like Mewtwo, not Armored Mewtwo, and as well as Dialga have the first opportunity to really shine and make full use of their legendary stats. So when we're considering supporters, what synergizes the best with Dialga? And again, these principles are applicable to any Pokemon that you're considering adding onto your team. One of the questions you want to ask yourself is, what Pokemon, with regard to specifically Dialga, for example, what attacks are super effective into this Pokemon? For Dialga, as we saw in the video we discussed yesterday, I'll put a link to that up above, it was fighting types as well as ground type attacks. So what Pokemon would be able to weather potential ground type attacks or fighting type attacks? And if you've got some experience in Go Battle League, you know one of the most common counters to fighting type Pokemon is going to be, survey says, Togekiss. Togekiss as a flying fairy type Pokemon is going to have a 2 times resistance to fighting type attacks. So if Dialga is in a situation where a fighting type Pokemon is going to be beating it down, in comes Togekiss to save the day. Moreover, and again, some Pokemon may not be fighting types themselves, they may just be using fighting type attacks. An example of that would be Ursaring. Ursaring with counter and close combat, a normal type Pokemon, would be able to hit Dialga nonetheless for super effective damage with those fighting type attacks. But here, the Togekiss is going to, if they are a true blue fighting type Pokemon, hit them for super effective damage with that super powerful Charm fast move. So we've got the fighting type weakness both resisted, doubly resisted in this case, as well as hitting a fighting type Pokemon for super effective damage. Things like Machamp, Heracross, and Hariyama. Potentially, if you've got the Candy and the Stardust already, Conkeldurr also would be an amazing spicy pick for the Master League. So with Togekiss on our squad, we're going to be doubly resisting a fighting type attack or a fighting type Pokemon. And we're also going to have as a flying type, immunity tier resistance, that 2 times immunity or 2 times resistance to ground type attacks, another hindrance to Dialga as a steel dragon Pokemon. So all of the true blue, like on all fours, perfect counters to Dialga, for the most part, are going to be resisting the attacks, or Togekiss rather, is going to be resisting the attacks of those Pokemon. Another amazing supportive Pokemon for Dialga in the Master League is going to be Kyogre. As we know, one of the natural counters to a Pokemon like Kyogre is going to be grass attacks as well as electric attacks. What is doubly resistant to grass type attacks? A Pokemon like Dialga. That is a steel dragon Pokemon, both of those types resisting grass type attacks. Similarly, a dragon like Dialga is going to have resistance to electric type attacks. One of the other natural counters to a Pokemon that with water typing like Kyogre. As a result, these Pokemon are going to synergize and work exceptionally well together. Moreover, because Kyogre is going to be weak to ground type attacks, often Pokemon using ground type attacks are going to be ground type Pokemon. As a result, a Pokemon like Kyogre with access to water and ice type moves is going to be able to hit those ground type Pokemon like Rhyperior, like Excadrill, for super effective damage. As a result, and in one particular instance here, Metagross, one of the Pokemon that's not a ground type, steel type attacks like that from Metagross for Bullet Punch as well as Meteor Mash, if you're trying to go for the bait, are going to be resisted by a water type Pokemon. So here again we can see how synergistic and how well these two Pokemon are able to work together to shore up each other's deficiencies and have each other's backs. Potentially debatable given the current state of the Master League meta, but follow along with the synergy aspect of this discussion. We have Lugia. Lugia, as a flying psychic type Pokemon, is going to have immunity tier resistance to ground type attacks. Again, one of the natural counters to Dialga. It's going to have immunity tier resistance to fighting type attacks because of its flying and psychic typing. Again, one of the natural targets into Dialga. And as a result, this Pokemon with access to attacks like Future Sight or Extrasensory is going to be able to hit fighting type Pokemon for super effective damage, as well as ground types with Hydro Pump for super effective damage. And again, that same support falls to Dialga, is going to be resisting electric type moves, one of the attacks that Lugia would otherwise fear. Similarly, going to resist rock type attacks as a flying type. Dialga is going to be resisting those. And finally, one of the natural counters to Lugia would be an ice type Pokemon. But here we've got the coverage of that steel typing helping to immunize or remove the otherwise super effective damage into a Pokemon like Dialga. Though Dialga is only going to take neutral damage from an ice type attacker. Now, if you bundle in the fact that the natural counters to Lugia, some of the things that aren't covered by resistances by Dialga, Pokemon like Giratina with access to ghost type attacks, those Pokemon have a subtyping of dragon type. As a result, Dialga is going to be a natural predator for Pokemon like Giratina Altered Form and Origin Form. It's going to be hitting for super effective damage with its Dragon Breath attack into those opposing Dragon and Ghost type Pokemon, but it is not going to be taking super effective damage back, one because it has that steel resistance, but moreover, those Pokemon, Giratina Altered Form and Giratina Origin Form, are very likely going to be running Ghost type attacks. So as we can see, these Pokemon help to shore up each other's deficiencies. They either resist the attacks that would otherwise be super effective into their partner, or they hit for super effective damage into those partner Pokemon counters. As a result, these types of Pokemon are the kinds of synergy that you should be striving to find in each of your teams of 3, whether it be in Great League, Ultra League, or Master League, or if you're running Dialga, or if you're not. In every instance, you want to try to find Pokemon that fit well together and help to shore up each other's weaknesses so that ultimately your team is as well-rounded as possible, and as a result is able to address as many potential counters as possible. The final Pokemon that we'll be looking at in the Dialga supporter role will be Mewtwo. Mewtwo, with the recently buffed Psy Strike, is going to be hitting fighting type Pokemon for super effective damage crazy hard. And as a result, it's going to, as a psychic type, going to be resisting those fighting type attacks of Pokemon like Machamp, Conkeldurr, and Lucario. Watch out for that Shadow Ball with the Lucario matchup. Moreover, with access to attacks like Ice Beam, it is going to be hitting ground type Pokemon for super effective damage. So we've got a natural fit for working with Dialga, and one of the natural predators of Mewtwo, one of the natural counters that Mewtwo is fearing in the Master League, Giratina Altered Form and Giratina Origin Form. Dialga is going to be hitting them for super effective damage, but not going to be taking super effective damage back. So as we can see, this is another instance where these Pokemon help to support each other, work together, and help to cover each other's weaknesses. So ultimately, when you are considering what Pokemon work the best together, ask yourself, what attacks are each of these Pokemon weak to, and what Pokemon are going to either offer super effective attacks into the types of Pokemon that will be using those attacks, or what Pokemon are going to be resisting those types of moves. Finally, to close out the team building aspect of this video, once you've decided what two Pokemon work well together as a core, then you want to ask yourself, what Pokemon can I fill in that third slot that's either going to enable me to have a safe switch, that's not going to have common weaknesses or coverage issues with the two Pokemon that we've already discussed, or what Pokemon can I add to shore up any potential deficiencies that are left out from the first two Pokemon. For example, in the combination that I suggested with regard to Dialga and Mewtwo, Dialga is going to have, again, we discussed, a weakness to fighting type attacks, but Mewtwo is going to have a super weakness to a Pokemon like Darkrai. As a result, if Darkrai has its Focus Blast charged up because it went ham on the Mewtwo matchup, what is Dialga going to do if it's shields down and has an issue with Darkrai with a fully charged or nearly charged Focus Blast? So we need to have a Pokemon in the back that's going to be able to handle that matchup, something that's either going to be hitting a dark type like Darkrai for super effective damage, or is going to be resisting both dark and fighting type attacks. A potential option would be something like Togekiss. That is going to help to shore up that potential meta Pokemon being able to hit both of those targets, both Dialga and Mewtwo, for some type of super effective damage. So if you're interested in Pokemon Go, competitive PvP, and basically anything Pokemon related, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you are interested in looking at any other Pokemon or other suggestions for Dialga supporters, leave them in the comments down below. I would love to know what Pokemon you're considering running with Dialga if you're going to run it. Thanks again, and as always, happy catching.